At the back here, I pretty much got rid of all the major hazards, roots and rocks. There's still a few, but not too many, so it's actually pretty good running. You kind of let your guard down a little bit. Flat through here. Following along the base of this glacial moraine here. It's pretty cool through a somewhat mature hardwood forest. The area is known as Kingston Heights, former pioneer community of Glen Rawdon. This property at the back here, when we get into this white pines and cedars, was once farmed. In the cedars, it's all grown back up. It used to be pasture land. In through here, it's all pretty much untouched the way it was, except for some logging activities and forest fires. Apparently there was a time when they actually burnt this forest to the ground for the ash. I guess it was a product that was used back at the late 1800s, early 1900s. The adjacent property ahead, we turned just before we hit it, but it was extensively logged about 5 to 7 years ago. You can see it looks a lot different in there than my forest. Now we turn and head into the cedars. About probably 2/3 of the loop, you're running through some pretty dense cedar trees. And we're also gradually dropping in elevation too. This is about where the pasture land used to begin. You can tell because it's much more level of the ground, and a lot of the rocks have been picked too as well. There's not nearly as many rocks sitting on the surface. The white pines here I planted 19 years ago. These white pines. It was an open area. There wasn't very much here, just a few small cedars, but some of these white pines have really grown up too. As you can see, they're 19 years old, and they're probably 30 feet high, 20-30 feet high. Some fairly large trunks. The white pines create a really nice surface, soft pine needles. It's beautiful. Anyway, we kind of skirt back into the hardwood forest again for a moment before we drop back into the cedars. It's fairly flat through here, although we're starting to lose a little bit of elevation. I have the chair set up back here because I often bring the ATV back and grab subwoofer and speakers and an inverter and sit back here and have a few beers after I run. It's really nice to watch it get dark. There's a few hazards through here, but not too many. It's a bit undulating too as well. But we lose that in a minute again when we get into the cedars, the area that has been used as pasture land. This probably has been idle from farming for more than 70 years now, I would imagine. I really enjoyed the time I spent back here building the trail this summer. I know that I spent more time back here between building the trail and running this year over the last few months than I have in the previous 20 years that I've lived here. 20 years and 2 weeks now I've lived here, 1 week. It was beginning of September 1993 when I moved here. And these cedars were a lot smaller at that time too. They've really grown up. Originally I thought of removing some of the debris from the cedars, but there's nothing really much hazardous, and they provide a fairly nice cushion, pretty decent running surface. And I truly do appreciate that. Now we're following the property line here. The cedars through here were incredibly thick, as you can see, and that's what this trail was cut from here. I cut pretty much all of the stumps right down to ground level, as low as I could get it. Went through quite a few chains. This is also one of the steeper descents here. It really drops off, heading down towards there. You can see the light area at the end of the tree tunnel is where we turn left and go across the back of the property line. My neighbor cut this as a barrier marker between the back of my property and his property, and so it's kind of common ground. He was quite pleased with the fact that I had been through this summer and opened it up, because it's starting to grow in a little bit. Actually, most of what I did in here was with pruning shears. They seem to be pretty effective for cutting back the small cedars. And of course I had the chainsaw and cut down the majority of the roots that were protruding that you could catch your foot on. This loop really is someplace where you can come back and just kind of run, let your guard down, and it's very safe, good footing. But there is elevation. So there's no real steep, huge climbs, but you do climb a lot, gentle, and you do lose a lot, gentle. If you really are inclined, it's there are some very steep hills that you could repeat that would challenge probably just about anybody who runs trails, especially if you repeated this whole 1.6k loop, roughly 1.6k loop that I have done right now. It can be extremely challenging. There's some huge hills. Anyway, that little added extra that I'm going to do is to take the trail down this way and then kind of loop back around, joining up with the existing trail here. I'll be able to get my additional 80 meters or so, and it'll be pretty cool. So now we head back up. We're climbing. It's a little twisty through here. I tried to make most of the turns fairly gentle. Again, we're going to be climbing for a while now, but it's a very gentle climb. Very gentle climb. The footing is awesome through here. Nice soft ground, bit of give. The drainage is really good because we're running on a glacial moraine. It doesn't get too muddy when it rains. But we are climbing now. And you don't really notice it too much, but it's definitely there. Now we get into some more cedars, more mature cedars, and it gets a little more covered again. Anyway, into the thicker cedars again, and as you can see, it gets dark very quick. We're probably about 30 minutes from sunset, so the sun is getting low in the sky, and the hill is quite large, and the sun sets back here much sooner than it does anywhere else. So there's no direct sunlight on the top of this forest now. The ground is quite spongy through here. There are these rock fences all over the property here and there, and that's the farmer who settled the property. That was his efforts that did that. Probably well over 120 years ago. So there's lots of human history as well as geological history and the wildlife and the animals. There was some deer living back here, a mama and two babies, and you could pretty much see them any given evening when you're back here. Although they don't appear to be around tonight. Of course, I've got the camera. In through here it gets a little ornery again. We're back into that area that was never farmed. And it becomes quite rolling. There's holes, there's rocks, and there's some roots, but this is what I call my little hazard area. I'm going to leave it just like this because it kind of keeps you on your toes. There's some things to run around. It's actually not bad when you're running through here. You just have to really watch your foot placement. So, little tiny area, probably about 10-15 meters of kind of some more hazardous type ground to run on. And that is more or less the end of the 830, 850 meter loop at the back of the property. Like I said, repeat that area here 12 times and you got 10K.